What's up, my RC cookies? Cosino Art here, and I am back! Finally. Guys, it's been a crazy year, I'm not gonna lie, and well, let's be honest, the main reason for the craziness is AI, and we're gonna finally talk about it today. I have been wanting to make this video for like past 6 months, but I wanted to have all of the information, and things just kept changing in the AI world and all of those things. So I really wanted to make sure that I have all of the up-to-date information. So as an artist, I'm sure you want to know whether or not AI is gonna take your job. The short answer for this is no. No. It's not going to take away your job, but there's always a but. So let me explain what I think, just based on my general experience, what direction I think this whole thing is gonna take. You take whatever you want from it, and I do have some advice along the way on how to proceed with all of those changes that I think will be beneficial for you if you want to stay on top, if you want to, survive and still make art as your career. So let's get to it. I suck at finding this little button. Why do you have so many buttons? So the reason why there has been so many questions and hate around the whole AI art generated subject, because in the beginning, majority of those AI generated software, and I'm saying majority because, I don't know what I don't know, but majority of them have been trained on real artists' works without their permission. I mean, I think it's outrageous. Those artists spend their life mastering a skill, creating a work. It belongs to them. It's their IP. But somebody just went on and took their art and trained the machine on it so it could just replicate the style. I think it's very shitty, and a lot of people agree with my opinion. But here we are. Somehow that happened. I think if they were to actually get artist permissions, we wouldn't be here arguing about it, because artists would actually give their consent to use their art to train the software in the first place. And so because of that, majority of those AI generated images, if you heard the scandals about Adobe generated AI before, or sometimes even in Midjourney, you probably heard that there are a lot of times where artist's signature would actually show up on an AI generated image. Even when the style doesn't necessarily match, there would be a signature, meaning that their work has been at some point taken and being used as a part of it. So of course that is basically stealing, and anybody with a somewhat okay moral compass can understand that. And additionally, just to make it more fun and add oil into the fire, on top of big companies trying to join the trend, like DeviantArt trying to pull the stunt with just basically doing the same thing and training their own AI on their members' art without their permission at the first place. All of those things, there is also a whole AI enthusiast bro culture out there. Basically people who publicly display disrespect for the real artists and saying things like, ooh, you should be drawing better instead of whining about AI, things like that. I think that is a total disregard of how many years and hours and how many sacrifices people have to do in order to achieve certain level of their skill. There should be still level of respect, just like human beings. If one day there is an app just comes up and can automatically do everything that you do in 5 minutes, something where you spend years of your life mastering a skill and hours of reaching the same result, you would be pissed too. Because let's face it, real artists are the foundation of the AI software, and without real artists there would be no AI generation whatsoever. And I just wanted to bring this up because I think it's important to talk about the ethical side of this issue before we can proceed and talk about the future. Like I said, this year has been crazy. Mostly because there have been tons of AI tools popping up here and there, and none of it was regulated. And of course you got things like writer strike, actor strike. I low-key am suspecting that animation strike is coming up soon, but don't quote me on that quite yet. That's just my speculations, but I do think that is a possibility. And all of those things have been happening just because AI as a new technology was released. We got this new technology, but we weren't prepared for it. So when there were no regulations, it's a wild, wild west. We need regulations for technology like that in place everywhere, in every industry, not just in our entertainment industry and art, but in everything. And because of that, there have been many companies suffering, many artists, many individuals. I don't have to go far to give you an example. I am right here. My company have suffered tremendously because of the whole AI pop-up. We basically lost all of our clientele and had to figure out how to keep going. But now let's talk about the future. It hasn't been easy for many of us, and that's definitely something to acknowledge. And that also led to a lot of hate towards basically both sides, not just artists, but people who make AI generated art also got a lot of hate because of all of those things happening. But for the future, there is one thing we're gonna have to accept. AI is not going anywhere. Love it or hate it, but AI is here to stay. Genie is out of the box and there's nothing we can do to put it back. If you have been paying attention, you notice that every single company that can afford it is jumping on AI train. All because they know that this is the only way to survive competition now. Just look at Adobe. They basically adopted every single software they have to have all of those AI tools that you can use. Not only that, but they also started selling AI stock images on their site. We have AI popping up here and there on every single website or company you use. Hell, look at Canva. Even Canva got their own AI generated images. YouTube is coming up with a bunch of AI tools that's gonna be rolling out soon, and all of that, all because all of those companies know that in order for them to survive, to stay competitive and to get ahead, is to adopt the new technology. And as much as I hate it, I have to admit that that's also kind of what we're gonna have to do in order for us to survive. Now, when I say this, I don't mean go into Midjourney or DALL-E or whatever AI generated image software and just generate your own images. That's not what I'm talking about. The ethical part of issue is still there. But there are a bunch of ways where we can actually improve our work and make it more efficient by using those tools. And because there has been so many companies adopting the new AI technology, there also has been a lot of work around regulations, which is good. We want regulations. And especially when it comes to using like artist names in the prompts and things like that, more and more AI generated tools are getting rid of that. And I really hope that at the very least, they will at least get rid of the ability for people to prompt artists' works and just get and use their style. At least start with that. And because there has been so much AI everywhere now, it is getting harder to see what's AI generated and what's not. And because of that, several companies have been working on different software to help tell people whether or not the image has been AI generated or if it's real. Same with video and same with basically everything. And while right now technology is not exactly perfect, and I know this because I actually tested that to see how far they've come, and they're not very far yet. Especially if you're a digital artist, it is very easy for the machine to confuse your art with AI art. Not so much where it's like a picture of a watercolor or things like that, traditional media, but when it comes to digital art, it is still quite difficult for the software to tell, especially if you're working like semi-realistic style or anime style, things like that. It is still a little bit difficult, but I'm sure it's getting there. And from what we've heard from Google, Instagram, and other companies, they are planning on adding a feature where we would be actually seeing, I think, a thumbnail or something, an icon telling us whether or not that image has been generated by AI. So in a quite soon future, we will be able to tell whether this person actually created this piece or is it an AI art, which is also already good. Because with tools like that, not only will we be able to see the difference, but I think with time, real art made by real people will become even more valuable because there is so much AI generated images, and the real thing will just cost more. Because people know that there is quality and thought and sweat and tears that goes into this work rather than just 5-minute generation based on a whole bunch of artists. I think in this sense, it's a lot like, you know, if you are buying a t-shirt from some brand, a factory, where there is like a 5,000 t-shirts just like that, or you're getting a handmade thing. Handmade thing is always more appreciated and always more expensive and more valuable because it's made by hand and because it's naturally higher quality. And actually there's a story behind it. There's usually a person behind it, there's a story behind it, and that's why it's valuable. And I think the same thing is gonna happen with a real artist, where there will be so many AI generated images that actual thing will just become more valuable. Because no matter how good the generations are getting, they are getting pretty realistic. It doesn't matter. The machine can never replace a real thing. Even though technically they can become better, there can be more of AI generated images in the future, but it still can never compete with a real artist, just because Real artists have an in-depth knowledge of a subject, in-depth knowledge of how the body works, how the light works, and all of those things. And they put their soul into that. Every single image tells a story, and not just what you see on the piece of paper, but what artists thought about while drawing it. And I personally think that this cannot be replicated. While yes, if you put in a prompt, AI can replicate certain style of art, certain type, but it can never replace a real thing. Another reason I think we're not gonna get replaced by AI is because in the near future, AI will be used just like any tool. For example, when digital tools were just created for people to draw digitally, right? There was a transition period where I remember there was also quite a lot of hate on digital artists because it's not quite the same thing as traditional art, and there has been a lot of debates. I even remember during Inktober's there were a lot of artists saying like, why are digital artists participating? They're not using any ink and things like that. But eventually right now I feel like digital art is more accepted because people understand that that's just a tool, and there is still learning process, there is still a learning curve, and all of those same things that go into traditional art for digital artists as well. And I feel like I can say that because I do both traditional and digital art. I dedicated over 25 years of my life to art, so I feel like I can express my opinion regarding that. And so eventually the same thing is going to happen with AI. Eventually it's just going to be treated as a tool. I don't think AI image generation will be used as a main source. It would be just more of a tool for real artists to use, but that does mean that we will have to learn how to use those tools. And of course some professions will fade, that's true, but same thing happened with every technological advancement that we had. For example, with comic world, jobs like people who do inking, it's the kind of job that is fading away even now, because softwares like Clip Studio Paint already started rolling out features where you can color and ink your art automatically using AI technology, and there's only going to be more and more tools like that. But that just means that we will have to learn those tools to make our work better and more efficient. So those same people who used to ink by hand, eventually they started inking digitally, right? Just like we had the switch between the traditional media and digital media, at some point that's just going to be one of the digital tools that we can use. And then people who used to do inking and only inking now can use this tool to make their work quicker, and then they can use their time to do more. And I think the more of those tools will be rolling out, the quicker our process will become. We will still be needed to oversee those things, to fix those things, and we will be able to use those tools to make our work better. And there are actually already a bunch of ways you can improve your work using AI. And I don't mean uploading your artwork in one of those AI apps where you just put in a sketch and it comes up with something. Although, you know, that is possible too. No judgment here if you want to do that, but there are a lot of tools that can actually help you work faster and create your artwork faster. We live in a post-AI era now, and it's a new world, especially for the industry. I'm glad that more and more companies are bringing in regulations. They are talking about it, and we're gonna see more and more of that, which is a good thing, so that we can have the rules, we can know what is morally acceptable, we can make sure that people are compensated fairly for their work instead of just having their work or their space being stolen. And then we can move forward and use that technology and improve. And I don't know, maybe it's not a popular opinion because again, there is a lot of debates around the subject. And of course, it is a machine. It will never replace real artists. And in here, when I'm saying use the technology, I am never talking about forget about creating art, just generate images with the machine and that's it. No, I'm just talking about using the tools to help you improve. And just because this technology is here, it doesn't mean that now we should abandon our dreams, we should abandon our passion. No, if anything, we should strive higher. We don't have to use this technology. We can just keep going because again, what makes you, you is here. It doesn't matter if their lighting is better. Because what makes your art special is you, and that's something that no AI machine can replicate. When we talk about AI art, I'm not just talking about AI images. I'm not even just talking about AI images and videos where animation is involved. There are now several companies that are working on things like AI generated 3D models, and some primitive versions of it are already out. There are companies like NVIDIA that are working on 3D textures and automatic AI texturing. And those are all basically artist jobs. There are 3D modelers, there are texture artists and things like that. Visual effects artists. I spent years in university studying animation and visual effects. And now there are software where you can release and just replace actor with a 3D CG object without having to do any visual effects. It will do the lighting for you, texturing, everything. So we're not just talking about AI generated images here. There is now AI generated music, the AI generated comic books. I'm not even gonna get into the whole writing thing because, you know, ChatGPT and all of that. You've seen writer's strike, you know what happened there. But the point is, more and more tools are coming and it's affecting all of the artists, all of us. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. And eventually we will all get to the point where we will have to learn one way or another how to use that new technology so that we could move forward and be ahead. We are human. We are what makes us special. And all of our knowledge and expertise will only come handy because even though there is such a technology, that technology is not perfect. That's not going to be perfect for a while at least. Safe to say, and artists will still be needed to make it better, to make it beautiful, to make it what it is, to make it alive. And that's where we come in. And of course, industry aside and like companies aside, for individual artists, we should still keep going. We should still support each other because we are here for each other too. We are a community and we should keep going no matter what. By the way, writer's strike is one of the good examples on how those regulations are gradually gonna start coming up in every single industry and how that's gonna be regulated later on. Because the earth is populated by artists and the whole AI new wave is affecting all of us. So of course there will be regulations put in place. And it is our responsibility to push for those regulations so that we can get them sooner, so it can be fair, so that we can make sure that all of our fellow artists and ourselves are being treated properly, compensated for their hard work and respected for it. And now, if you are wondering, how can we learn those tools? How can we use it in our work to make it more efficient now? So I spent a long time learning the technology and trying to figure out how exactly does it work and how can I use it to make my work more efficient while not taking advantage of anybody else. And I also got some ideas of how you can use AI right now to improve your work, make it more efficient, make it faster, and sleep soundly at night. So if you are curious to find this out, stay tuned for my next video. It should be coming soon. I put a lot of work and research into this one, so I hope you like it. I hope you like this video as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I know the subject is tricky, there might be a lot of opinions, but I hope you still enjoyed it and you found it informative. Like and subscribe for more content like this. This channel is made by artists, for artists, to help you in your creative journey, in your art careers. So if you're interested in videos like that, make sure to subscribe. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next time.